Hello and welcome back to the channel where today I'm going to be reviewing one of my all-time favorite films, Nowhere Boy. Now before I get into this review, I just want to mention that I am pre-recording this on the 8th of January, the same way I did with the the two unscripted reviews that you got this month. Um, as well as probably the next review, simply because I have the time. I'm doing it now before my media room has even been started. So just getting that out there now is why I haven't actually done a review in the media room. But videos will be going into the media room very soon, as I am as recording this about to start. So anyway, with that being said, Nowhere Boy, my third favorite film of all time. And I decided to finally get around to reviewing it because last year I reviewed my second favorite film of all time, which is Star Trek First Contact. And I haven't even reviewed my favorite and third favorite film, so that's what you're getting this year. I'm finally getting around to doing just that. So, Nowhere Boy is a Beatles biopic, mainly centered around John Lennon as well as his relationship with his Aunt Mimi, as well as his mother, Julia. So, the movie basically shows how John kind of got into the rock and roll music and how he ended up forming the Beatles, but we don't necessarily see the Beatles at all. We see some members of the Beatles, yeah, like obviously John, Paul, and George, but that's about it. Like, well, with George, we don't we get maybe like a snippet of him in the film, and then he doesn't really have any speaking roles. It's mainly, as I said, this film is mainly focusing on John's relationship with his mother and his Aunt Mimi, and how John felt abandoned by his mother at the age of 5. So yeah, the relationship basically, the film, sorry, I should say, starts with the death of John's uncle, Aunt Mimi's husband. He unfortunately dies. He sees his mother at the funeral and asks about her. To which obviously Mimi doesn't want John to be involved with her. So, through one of his cousins, um, he finds her, and turns out she's pretty close. And so they go visit her. And so John then has this relationship with his a secret relationship with his mother for a small portion of this film, and it then uh, obviously he gets introduced to rock and roll, the likes of Elvis and Screaming Jay Hawking is another one, and pretty much everyone at that point in the 50s. And so then after John gets suspended for showing pornography to an old woman on the bus, he hides out at his mother's because he burned the letter from Aunt Mimi because Aunt Mimi would explode at him for getting suspended yet again. So Mimi ends up teaching John the banjo, and as well as a song that gets used later on when he gets unsuspended, and Mimi buys him a guitar. He then forms the first band, the first iteration band of the Beatles, which is known as the Quarrymen, and we get to see their first concert that they perform at a fair, and then we also see Paul McCartney get introduced to the band. He performs 20 House Rock, and immediately gets into the band, and then Paul starts to teach John how to properly play the guitar, because at this point, whilst John has the guitar, he mainly knows the banjo chords because that's what he was taught. And throughout the movie, we just see them performing covers and that, until they start writing their own material, and whilst playing shows. And that's also then where, as I mentioned, George gets introduced, and then they have a big party for John for his birthday with alcohol, and that's where things with John and his mother take a turn for the worse because John starts to ask questions. He wants to know, obviously, where his father is, and he's apparently in New Zealand. And then he leaves the party at his mother's house and goes back to where he's staying at Mimi. And then as Julie comes back, goes to that house, that's when everything gets revealed of why John was living with his Aunt Mimi. And it is a beautifully acted scene by all three actors involved. It is so raw in emotion, and you can tell everyone put their love and talent into this. It was pretty amazing to see. I absolutely love and adore that scene. It's definitely one of Aaron Taylor Johnson's best performances in this movie. And then, of course, as the movie starts winding down towards the end, John's mother dies. She gets hit by a car and dies. And after a bit of ruckus with one of his childhood best friends, and of course also punching Paul, Julia, John's mother, her husband gave John money for them to go, that Julia's been saving up to go record their first album. Not the Beatles' first album, but kind of the group's first album. And then the film ends with John going to Hamburg with the Beatles. So yeah, I just love this movie. The first time I watched it, I instantly fell in love with it, and the way it was shot, the way it looks, the music that they use, not just, of course, licensing songs that was used that came out around that time, but just the other score that came about. And as I said, Aaron Taylor Johnson, his acting in this is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And I'd highly recommend this movie to anyone, whether you're a Beatles lover or you're not, just for his acting in this movie alone, because it's really really good. Like I'd love to see him in more stuff. Like I know he was in the two Kick-Ass movies. I know he was Quicksilver and in Age of Ultron, and now he's going to be playing Kraven in the Sony movies. But still, he is a fantastic actor, and I'd love to see him in more. I'd love to see him be a lead in like a movie series that does really well, to get him out there more, because as I keep saying, he's a fantastic actor, and I absolutely love and adore this movie each time I watch it. And I tend to watch it maybe once a year. About once a year is when I tend to watch this movie, and it's actually the first movie that I've watched this year, even though I've already done 2 unscripted reviews for this year, and then of course last month's unscripted reviews. But yeah, no, this is the first film that I've watched this year. It is a rewatch, but I still wanted to get this review out because I love this movie. It's fantastic. I'd highly recommend it. It's pretty cheap to pick up on Blu-ray. And yeah, so thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this ramble unscripted review, because I'm literally just finished watching the movie again, and I will see you all next time for another movie review that isn't an unscripted movie review. But you'll have to wait and see what that one is. Or if you followed me on Instagram, I probably already showed the thumbnail for that video. But yeah, I'll see you all next time.